Kauliua ikienu vai ale he maka halalo kalehua makando o kalihi lihi kuku yo aipo.
0.5%. 49 seconds over 2 hours and 28 minutes. That's what separated me from Mike Woods and the Haleakalā KOM time last year. You can see me here climbing up the volcano, giving it my all, but it just wasn't enough. I surprised myself that day. I didn't expect to do the power I did, and I definitely didn't expect to get nearly as close to the KOM as I did. But I was still really frustrated to have come so close and yet failed. That's why over the past few months, I've been training specifically for this effort. I've been doing intervals at the power I expected to need to take the KOM, and I even did a simulation ride up Mount Wilson in LA. I managed to average 350 watts up to 5,000 feet for that climb. Haleakalā, though, goes up to 10,000 feet, and there's just no way to simulate that in LA, since we don't have any climbs that go that high. Really, there aren't many climbs in the world that go up from sea level to 10,000 feet. It's pretty rare, and that's part of what makes Haleakalā so amazing. The numbers, they don't tell the full story, though. I climbed Haleakalā 4 times last year, and each time I learned something new, both about myself and the capabilities I had, but also the effort and the volcano and what it would take to get that KOM and bring down Mike Woods. That time has stood since 2013, and there's a reason for that. It's really hard to get a perfect day up Haleakalā. The wind speed is the main factor that you have to look for. The direction is never really going to be a tailwind. It's usually a trade wind, which is anywhere from north to east, and you really just have to hope to get the lowest possible speed. Last year I had around 20 miles an hour at the bottom, but it ended up being pretty nice at the top. This year, looking at the forecast when I first arrived on Maui, it looked like I was going to be in for some trouble, but there was one morning that it looked like the speed was coming down a little bit, around 12 miles an hour. So I decided to schedule for that date, and I found a follow car and support for the ride. That's where you can see now the GoPro filming from the back as the sun rises up over the peak in this amazing jungle environment. I started the climb pretty conservatively, holding about 340 watts. I could see on the Strava Live segment that I was losing a little bit of time to Mike Woods. I had to have some self-control and not be too worried about this, though, because I knew from looking at Mike Woods' ride that he'd gone out pretty hard and faded towards the end. From the modeling that I'd done on Best Bike Split, it looked like 340 watts the whole way up would get me the KOM. For nutrition, I had a nice brown sugar Pop-Tart at around 550 right after I woke up. And then on the climb, I started with one bottle, 400 calories of a 2-to-1 maltodextrin fructose mix. And then I had another pass up from my support car about an hour 15 in with the same mix, so 800 calories total for the climb. You can see in this GoPro footage that there are some pretty flat sections coming up. And to take the KOM, I knew I'd be doing a little over 14 miles an hour. So for any section like this where I'm going over that speed, I'm just trying to focus more on aerodynamics and efficiency rather than just smashing out big watts in an upright position and hoping for the best. I know that I'll probably never beat Mike Woods in a pure watts per kilo battle, given how small he is, but I can take an advantage on a long, somewhat shallow climb like this by being efficient and holding a higher absolute power. I knew that theoretically my pacing strategy was sound, but looking at my Garmin and seeing me being down on Mike Woods for so long, it was really hard. It took a lot of self-control to just stick to my plan and not go over and blow up. Maybe I could have stuck with his pace early on, but I really wanted to get the most out of myself, and I knew that going really hard early on wouldn't be the fastest way for the whole climb. This section has luscious green grass, farm animals, nice trees, and you can see the peak in the distance. But as we go up the climb, the environment, vegetation, scenery, everything will change and it'll get more dramatic, more barren, and volcanic. Obviously this is a volcano. It hasn't been active in a long time, unlike the Big Island where there's still ongoing eruptions and lava flows. but you can still see the history of the volcano. And the whole islands of Hawaii, if you weren't aware, were created by volcanic activity. So it's really in the DNA of everything around you. Last year, I got to climb Mauna Kea and Mauna Loa on the Big Island. And while those climbs do go higher than Haleakalā, I would say Haleakalā is my favorite of the Hawaiian volcanic climbs. There's just something about it. It's so amazing. Mauna Kea has a unpaved volcanic sand section, which I had to walk through last year. But at this point, we're up pretty high. You can see there's not much vegetation left. It's an incredibly clear day. It's not always like that. Sometimes you're just in clouds and you can't see anything, but we got lucky today. At this point, I was already up on Mike Wood's time, but I wanted to give it everything. I wanted to make this KOM the best I possibly could. It takes a lot to set up an effort like this, and I wanted to give it my best effort so that this might last for a long time. This is my favorite shot by far. You can see the ocean, the other side of the island in the background. It's amazing. You can see the other islands from up here as well. At this point, there's no vegetation left. Just volcanic rocks, me, not much air, just suffering. But good suffering. It was enjoyable. I was really starting to feel the elevation at this point. Doing power numbers that down at sea level wouldn't be that big of a deal, but up here are maxing out my breathing just because there's not as much air. Wow, that's an incredible view. In the end, I managed to take the KOM by a little over 3 minutes. I averaged 348 watts, which was about in line with what I expected to do, a bit on the high side, but I'm really pleased with the effort. I think that this KOM should last for a while, but who knows? I'd love to see someone take it. I'll leave you with this final accidental slow-mo shot. It's from the very top, and you can see just how high we are above the clouds. It's truly an amazing experience to climb Haleakalā. I'm really thankful for the people that made this trip and this climb happen. Mason, who provided host housing, and Corey, who drove support on the day. Mahalo.